Hello, I'm Kurt Lidke, Executive Director of Klamath Film, and you just watched Heaven, a film celebrating a beautiful nature doc with a twist in our shorts category for the Klamath Independent Film Festival. Joining us now is the director of this film, Michelle Alvarado. Thank you, Michelle, for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
What an interesting film. The underwater shots that you got for this are absolutely mesmerizing, but the poem that matches it gives it a really quirky feel, almost like a Dr. Seuss book, like one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish vibe. What made you want to make this film? And did you come across the poem first and then build a film around it, or did you decide you want to do the film and then find the poem? Like how did that work?
Yeah. Actually, I won a Women in Film grant and had a window in which was over winter that I had to produce it. As any filmmaker's journey is, I started in one direction, and due to my talent not becoming available during that time, I had to pivot in another direction. And actually, I love shooting underwater. It's a passion of mine ever since I was young. It's very, very challenging to film in rivers and not often seen. So I really wanted to have a chance to bring all of that footage together. Um, I'm shooting underwater. I started scuba diving when I was a kid, and my mom passed away. And when that happened, I really was questioning, like, what does happen when you pass away? And do you go to heaven? And what is heaven like? And so forth. And so I wanted to share that personal story. And I know that's not obvious coming through, but the poem really questions heaven, that. But to make it more approachable and light, I thought having it, yeah, come from a fish was a great way to sort of question: do animals have a soul? And is heaven better than where we are? So it pulled a lot of meaningful pieces together for me.
Great. Well, where did you shoot this and with what? Typically, underwater shots, GoPros are the obvious choice for their underwater capabilities. But what gear did you use to get all those incredible underwater shots? And how much time did you and the crew have to be stuck in rivers? It sounds like you shot it in winter too, so I'm sure that wasn't the most pleasant of experiences to get all this footage.
Yeah. So I actually have DSLR camera, a Mark IV that goes into a Nauticam housing with a monitor and stuff. I do use sometimes a GoPro. Actually, the smaller camera is sometimes easier to get around fish because
Mhm.
they're obviously spooky, especially big fish like steelhead and salmon. You have to. They think I'm a sea lion, and so don't want to come close to me, understandably. Yeah, so it had to be all shot in Oregon. So all the footage is Eastern Oregon, and some of them are actually quite a few endangered species in there as well. And yeah, so actually some of it started in the fall in September, and then kind of went through there. But it's all over. Yeah, and it's a lot. Basically, sitting in the water for a very long time and hiding behind boulders and trying to find still water. It's
I was kind of curious about that, and I hear stories from various film directors of the struggles that come with trying to coordinate a production when you're working with children or working with animals. How do you direct fish?
so you don't obviously, but steelhead are my sort of passion fish because they're very hard to capture underwater, especially on scuba gear. And so I was filming these fish, and they were not happy with me there, kind of swimming around. And then I saw this one kind of tucked away in a pocket, and I just remember like, please, 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 just stay, and it did. So I figured there's some telepathy going there with the fish. Like, I just need this shot. Come on, stick with me. And so I got some photos and and eventually it tired of me and took off as I creeped in closer and closer.
Well, I figure it's kind of tough to get a fish to find its mark and go back for a take two on things. So, um, shooting nature style documentary footage is always fascinating to me. But I also feel kind of sympathetic for the filmmakers of just how long do you have to be sitting out there in the wilderness to get this 5 second shot, and how difficult was it to get to the location with all of your gear? If it's a remote site, what are some of those hardships that come? Because I know that you've done a lot of kind of nature documentary style work with like National Geographic and the Monterey Bay Aquarium and other things. So, are there added burdens to doing nature style documentary footage over more narrative filmmaking?
Yeah, I mean, I would say they both have their challenges and perks. Certainly a lot less control. I would say I would love to do more nature, but I maybe don't have as much patience as some other nature filmmakers do, honestly. But it's funny, I'll be underwater and I lose track of time. And sometimes I've come up after hours and hours of being underwater and I have blue lips and blue hands and think, oh, I guess I'm cold. And but it's like your mind just you just lose it. But there's many times, especially with migrating fish, I show up and there's nothing there, and that's hard. And it's yeah, you have to pay for gas and time, and so it's got to be a passion for sure. So weekends, yeah.
Any unexpected wildlife encounters too? Because I mean, you're going out and filming in remote areas too, so you may be encountering some things that you don't want to get on camera, or may have to run quickly.
Well, I wish that was more the case. Most animals don't want to stick around, but one funny story was a coyote came by and peed near me, like, and then just kept going. I was like, okay, it's your territory. I get it. Like, yeah, but nothing. I would actually say scuba diving in rivers, the water is really the danger. And I honestly over it at night because I'll find these little pockets in the river. But if I push out to it, and get stuck behind a log or something, I mean, it's serious stuff. So just being really cautious and mindful when doing that. So yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of serious sides to that, and there is a lot of safety that you need to be concerned with. But it can't all be serious all the time. So, in the course of trying to film fish, or any sort of blooper reel stuff, where these shots come up, or any funny behind the scenes things that happen, you can share.
Well, there is a shot. If only you could go back and look at it. I'm sure there's some way, but there's a shot of a Warner sucker, and he looks like he's talking to you. And in the video, I kind of tried to make it like he was talking, like to parallel the poem. So you might have to go back and see that little added treat in there.
So the poem that accompanies all of this fantastic nature footage that you got, where did you find that poem? Who is it by?
Yeah. So I was just doing some digging for, I knew I wanted it to be a poem. And so I read through a gazillion poems. And then I came upon this one by Rupert Brooke, who wrote it in 1915. And I just felt like it was a perfect match. There were some with footage I wasn't really sure how to capture, like worms and sludge, and so there were some challenging shots that I wish I had more time to have captured. But yeah, it was a lot of internet searching and reading poems, and it just had the right satire that I was looking for. I like black comedies that had that feel.
So you had alluded to it a little bit earlier that this film, you approached it from a personal story perspective of coping with the loss of a parent. But when people watch it, maybe they may not catch that angle, because there is so much focus on the wildlife and matching with the kind of this quirky, fun little poem. Um, so what do you hope that people get out of your film when they see it?
Yeah, great question. So when I was when my mom passed, my family wanted, we're sharing that heaven is a place you go, and I was struggling with that a bit because I believe, and they, and they would tell me no, animals don't have souls, just humans go to heaven. And so it, to me, it played on that question I had as a kid, like, what do you mean? I see souls in animals, like they do, and reaction. So I would say that that's the deeper story. There is sort of, questioning what heaven means, um, and why can't we all believe in a heaven as well?
Any final thoughts about your film that you would like people to know?
Yeah, I'd like to share that. So typically we do films that are more action based, so looking to change minds, right? Which is often what films do. But it was really fun to just. I really appreciated the grant that somebody donated to have the opportunity to just try something new and be playful and just be entertainment. And I just really appreciate that and contribute to art in that way. I just, from all of us, I want to say that it does mean something, and what you'll experience here at the Klamath Film Festival as well is that gift. So thanks for supporting.
You do have your own production company, Wahoo Films. So, what are you working on these days? What are some future projects that we can expect from you?
Yeah, we've actually expanded to doing more campaigns. So we're doing, she'd look up Raise the Deschutes, and we have some animation and some videos, basically to bring awareness again around the rivers to help people know that rivers are depleting in Oregon, even though it feels like we have so much water. So those fish are struggling because of temperature or water degradation. So the health of the river really does need some attention, some solutions out there. And so our Raise the Deschutes campaign has just been fun because it's a series of videos. It's more interactive. So that's one of them. But yeah, we have quite a few projects going on, and just grateful for that. So a lot of stuff in the watershed.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for making this film. And in addition to being available online all weekend long via Eventive, people can catch Heaven in person at the Ross Raglan Theater here in Klamath Falls on Sunday, September 20th around 4:15 p.m. for the 8th annual Klamath Independent Film Festival. So, Michelle, thank you so much for taking some time out and talking about your film.
Thank you. Appreciate it.